everybody, how are you doing today? Well, what are we going to talk about today? Something that is very, very Canadian, and yet very few Canadians actually know about. What am I talking about? The Canadian Rangers. You're going, who? I've heard of the U.S. Army Rangers, I've heard of the New York Rangers hockey team. The Canadian Rangers? Well, a red-clad figure exhales a cloud of steam while gazing through binoculars across ice-packed seas, patrolling the northern border for ships that don't belong there. Another person in red searches the wild terrain for a lost child or signs of life around a small airplane crash. Who are these hardy men and women? Nope, not the Mounties. These are the Canadian Rangers, numbering in the thousands, yet barely known by many Canadians. Combining traditional knowledge with military and life-saving training, the Rangers are an organization uniquely positioned by both skills and geography to contribute to the security and welfare of the country. Their turf, the parts of Canada so remote that regular Canadian military and law enforcement have trouble getting there. The Rangers' origins go back to World War II, when Canada declared war on Japan after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. It was a period of uncertainty about the country's security. Years of the Great Depression had severely weakened Canada's defense capabilities, so you can imagine the frenzy that was triggered 6 months later when a Japanese submarine attacked Vancouver Island's Estevan Point Lighthouse. True, there was no significant damage done, but the sub did fire 25 shells, every one of which missed the lighthouse. But this was the first hostile act on Canadian soil since the War of 1812. It spooked Canadians enough to demand action on the part of the government. The government responded first by extinguishing all of the Pacific Coast lighthouses, hoping that this would thwart further Japanese submarine attacks. But it also caused problems for legitimate ships that were trying to navigate the coast. Next, more wisely, Canada created an all-new volunteer defense unit called the Pacific Coast Militia Rangers, or the PCMR, who were trained to watch out for enemy ships and aircraft, and in the event of a land invasion, to act as a stopgap until the regular army showed up. Eventually, the Pacific Coast Militia Rangers volunteered numbered more than 15,000 men who watched the land and sea day and night for any suspicious activities. After World War II, the PCMR was disbanded and re-emerged in 1947 as the Canadian Rangers. The group's new beat was the remote coastal region of Canada. Its mission to provide a quasi-military and police presence in areas not easily supported by the regular Canadian Forces or the RCMP. Here's some notable features about the Canadian Rangers. Most of the number of Canadian Rangers are made up of First Nations people. They're paid for their work and are given training in basic military skills, navigation, search and rescue, communications, and disaster relief. Membership is open to men and women over the age of 18, and since there is no retirement age stated, some Rangers have served until they were in their 80s. The Ranger uniform is as informal as it is distinctive. It consists of an insignia imprinted red sweatshirt and baseball cap. Their gear also includes a World War II era rifle. Why? Because these World War II era rifles have proven to be reliable even in the extreme cold. There's also a Junior Canadian Rangers program for people ages 12 to 18. It teaches traditional ways of making shelters, living off the land, and crafting sleds, boats, and canoes. In the late 1940s, the Rangers monitored radar sites meant to detect encroaching Soviet ships, planes, and missiles. Today, they still report unidentified vessels within Canadian waterways, illegal attempts to enter the country, and the smuggling of drugs and other contraband. But the era of global warming has shifted some of the rangers' duties. For example, they now also provide support to remote scientific expeditions and document the effects of climate change on their region. One unusual mission involves flying the Canadian flag on remote islands and ice fields that the country claims are its own. Here's why that's important. Arctic thawing may open up far north sea routes and make it easier to extract minerals, fish, and other resources. Other countries might like to establish claims on the area or declare new water passages as international waters. Canada's government, however, does not want to give up areas it considers Canadian. So to support its claims of ownership, the government sends rangers out on frequent quote-unquote sovereignty patrols, some of which cover more than 5,000 kilometers, which is about 3,100 miles, in the harsh cold to show a continuing Canadian presence in regions that might someday be disputed. Rangers William and Harry. Honoring the Canadian Rangers in a ceremony in November of 2009, Prime Minister Stephen Harper expressed pride in the great group of people who patrol our vast Arctic territory. He also presented the distinctive red sweatshirts and caps to Prince Charles of Wales, asking him to bestow honorary Ranger membership on Princes William and Harry. "I hope they fit," quipped Charles when Harper handed them to him. Harper's wife Lauren quickly responded, "One size fits all." So there you have it. A lot of Canadians have not heard of the Canadian Rangers, so if you haven't heard of them and you live elsewhere in the world, no need to feel bad. I hadn't heard of them until I started doing this research. So there we have it, the Canadian Rangers. A good big group of dedicated men and women who patrol our Arctic regions and look for things that shouldn't be there and monitor the goings-on of nature. Alrighty, now I suppose you want a joke. No, you don't. Say, I don't want a joke. I want a groaner. Alright, let's see if we can find you a groaner. So a gentleman was having coffee with his friends, and he says, "Boy," says, "I was stumped there for a while. Tomorrow's my wife's birthday, and I didn't know what to get her, so I asked her, 'What would you like?' And she told me she wanted something with a lot of diamonds. I sure hope she likes the deck of cards I bought her." There you have it. Well, since I have your attention here, there's something I want to get you to mark on your calendars for those of you to whom it would apply. In July of this year, there's going to be a YouTube Creators Meet and Greet in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Date and time and place, exact place in Winnipeg, will be announced, so keep your eyes peeled and your ears open, and I'll be giving you further details closer to the time, but be thinking about that. Winnipeg's a 6-hour drive for me from Regina, but I'm going whatever day it turns out to be. If you want more information on this, you can check out Driveshaft Drew's channel. I'll put a link in the description box, and Driveshaft Drew is organizing this year's meet and greet in Winnipeg, probably with the help of Scott from Corkboard TV. Be sure to stay tuned for further details, and I'll let you know as I hear them. But it will be in July, it will be in Winnipeg, and I'll let you know the date, time, and exact location as soon as I know it. Until next week with Tuesdays with the Pilgrim, take care, stay safe, and God bless.